few videos back, we were talking about the new Dyna C and some of the changes that occurred in it. One of them was the fact that how we tried to create the backside more open than prior gen Dianas. So to make the sound more open and other things that occur when you have real open back. And it brought up some questions with people and stuff where what is really an open back? What's really open back versus closed back, or even somewhere in between, semi-open, etc. So I think where we could start is that the fact that, right now, currently at the 3 model headphones we have are all considered open back. And we obviously try to make it as open as possible, but you need structure, you need a way to protect the driver, so you can't just have nothing there. So I remember we talked about this with our 1266 in the past, where when we initially were designing the AB 1266, what feels like forever ago, we were designing the driver with nothing on the backside of the frame. There was nothing behind it.
For a long time, actually.
Yeah.
It was kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
Things hitting it.
Yeah. Well, but it was only in-house. We didn't sell it like that, right? It was just for us. Yeah, you're right. But it would be easy to destroy a thin planar driver with nothing back there to protect it. But that was our initial test procedure, was let's see what we can make this thing do. And then when we started figuring out, all right, now how do we protect it? What do we put back there? And all of a sudden we started realizing how these materials, we thought we were going to use wood initially and change the different woods so we can change the sound of it, like some headphones do.
Yep.
We went through that whole process, got all these really cool specialty woods, purple hard, and it's cool how the wood actually does change it, even though you cut slots in it and make an open back. The different woods do have a different resonant character. You do hear it.
Yep. Well, the biggest thing, we started, the one wood was too weak, so we put 2 layers of on to make it stronger, and then it sounded different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, versus just one layer.
Right.
Same cut hole pattern in
just
the woods.
thin slices of wood.
Yeah, but when you went deeper with the slots, it changed the sound, which I guess makes sense. I mean, you're starting to set up more of a tuned,
There's more
port.
impedance back there.
Yep.
Yeah.
But this is a thing that I think consumers are unaware of because nobody really talks about it. It turns out open isn't open and closed is almost never closed. There's huge differences between the two, but usually they're kind of sort of loosely defining a concept. Open means it's mostly-ish open. Closed means it's kind of closed. But closed headphones are almost always ported. They're open somewhere. They try to redirect the sound so that it goes down or out of the way or goes through a little filter or media or something.
You mean the back wave of the speaker? It's got to go somewhere.
Yes, that's probably good clarification.
Yeah. But from an external, I think a lot of people, when they think of closed, they're worried about external noise too, which is, they're keeping out the ambient noise around them, whether they're walking through New York City or whatever.
Noise rejection.
Yeah, which again, like you said, most of the closed aren't really closed either.
There's 2 factors.
It's closed, but it's not. It's not like it's insulated, soundproof booth closed.
Usually, there doesn't seem to be a particularly good way to rate this. That's at least standardized, but you're potentially worried about the sound that's in the headphone leaking out and how much of that leaks out. But you're also worried about how much of the sound from the outside gets in the headphone. And closed headphones are supposed to combat this, but they don't necessarily all do the same job. Some headphones do a great job at mechanically stopping the sound from getting in and stopping the sound from getting out, but they don't necessarily do both at the same time.
Well, I guess that's why you'd go active then, right? Active noise canceling.
Well, that's the whole idea, because in that small of a package, you can't
big
really,
foam blocks.
Yeah, you can't insulate it enough to keep out all frequencies well, particularly the lower end frequencies like a jet rumble noise and stuff like that. 100 hertz is tough. It's tough to deal with in a room environment, much less in the size of a space of a headphone.
Especially a transportable headphone made for plane use. And
such, yeah, you can't put 3 feet of fiberglass in there and make it filter that, absorb that frequency. So active they use.
Generally, all active noise canceling is designed to do is make you not hear the outside environment. They don't impact how much of the audio in your headphone leaks out of the headphone.
Yeah, in fact, if anything, it probably makes it worse because it's
creating
generating
more
anti-noise, which is reflecting around, and that's why those headphones in general, when you're running active noise canceling, there's almost always a difference in sound.
Usually,
with it on and off, because it's got to create an anti-sound to cancel the noise.
It's very, very hard to do right.
Yeah.
And that's usually why audiophiles aren't too enthusiastic about them, other than in loud environments where they're necessary. But I think people don't really always bring up the fact that there is two facets to this. Some people are hyper concerned about how much of their sound leaks out, and so they move towards closed back. And they think that that solves the problem. But there's huge variance in closed back, how much of the sound leaks. And on like Diana, we call it an open, I believe, but compared to something like 1266, it's miles apart how much sound you hear outside of the headphone. In average, like moderate level environment, it's not super loud, but it's not super quiet. You don't really hear that headphone if you're sitting next to someone.
Once you get a
playing
few
it.
feet away or so, it's pretty much not there anymore.
Right. Yeah, it's more the radiation pattern from the back. It's
Right.
like-
Yeah.
Depends on your angle.
I guess that's the way to
Yeah.
look at it. You know, if you think about radiation patterns, or even like think about how microphones are rated for pickup, where
Right. Yeah, it's like a
you got your
microphone.
cardioid and
Yeah.
stuff, and you got directional, and the Diana's more of a straight line out the backside, like perpendicular from your side of your heads is. Going out this way
Yeah.
is where the sound emanates and picks up, but from front and back, it's pretty much
Pretty
almost, It's like a
isolated.
sealed.
Yeah, 1266 is just like 180 degrees radiation.
It's probably more like 160, but it's
yeah,
pretty
it's
close
not 180, but
Yeah.
yeah.
because it's so open.
Yeah.
If you're playing a 1266 loud, people could hear it a room away oftentimes, right? It's very, very open in that regard. But it's a little misleading that there isn't really a great way to show this. Nobody's standardized on a system to display just how much leakage there is. It's kind of all little hobbyists and stuff like that trying to give you an impression. But it would be nice to actually do something
Well,
like
they make rooms for that, right? Where they either put like 50 mics in a circle in a room for
Yeah.
measuring speakers and how a speaker radiates the sound. But you could do a smaller setup like that with headphones. I don't think anyone actually does that, where you have multiple points of measurement around in a 360
I've
axis.
seen people do that before, but it's not super common.
You can rotate the headphone on one mic and make multiple measurements and do it, like on a Lazy Susan. But I mean, you could do it. I mean, but
Yeah, but I guess it also brings up
I'm
the
not
fact
sure who you're talking to with all this.
then
measurement
you need
stuff.
to interpret it, right?
Yeah, right.
So it's a little
What
messy.
does this mean? I guess
what does it mean?
If you put it into a polar graph, I guess it would make sense to some people, but for most people who would give a crap, they're going to buy the headphone for. It's unlikely they're going to worry about the polar pattern coming off the sound pattern coming off a headphone.
Well,
or
especially
pickup
with an
pattern.
open back in particular.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, the
it's gonna
simple,
leak either way, right?
the simple solution is if you're worried about that, you get the closed back, which I think that's what a lot of people are waiting for. A closed back is because that's what they've grown accustomed to, is just avoiding that kind of issue at all. Totally,
Right.
just like get a closed back, don't have to think about it.
But for whatever reason, people always seem to be somewhat unaware that there's two facets to a closed back. We see both sides. We see people saying, "Oh, I can't wait for a closed back because then I can listen to music and not hear my loud environment." And then you see other people say, "Then I could listen to music in a quiet environment and not have other people hear my music." But it really, to a designer, they're two separate things for the most part. They're mostly isolated. There's some relationship between the two, but if you solve one, it doesn't mean you solve the other.
Yeah, and neither are a solution to comparing to an open back, because you can't. It's very difficult to make a closed. As soon as you put material behind the speaker, now you're reflecting off that material. You're going to hear those reflections. There's no avoiding that other than figuring out how to absorb it or diffuse it. And so obviously then, given everything else being the same speaker driver or whatever, the two are going to sound completely different. Not completely different. I mean, you can probably still pick out the fact that, yes, it's an Abyss driver, it's this type of speaker, right? But you're dealing with all those reflections internally that are, when you stick something behind you, it completely changes it shifts the tonality in areas that wherever frequencies are reflecting or bouncing or being absorbed by that closed back, that's a change in your perspective from hearing it.
I guess that's why you run into that asterisk, right? It's like good for closed back, right?
Yeah.
That's like a separate category. You normally don't compare them,
Right.
but I mean you can, but
Well, yeah, you're not really. I mean, you could try to rate a closed back on how open it sounds, and that's a good parlor trick when you can get it to do that. But it'll never have the depth or the out of head experience of a really, really good, really open headphone like our 1266 or Diana TC or something.
It's very much a spectrum, and that's kind of the tricky spot, because unless you have experience with a whole bunch of different products, it's really hard to know whether or not it's going to be right for your environment. So I think people lean towards closed back, thinking that they're closed and the sound doesn't come out. That's not true. Closed backs are almost never closed. Usually they are open, just mostly generally closed. They have very little porting somewhere, very little open areas where the air could leak out. And generally they try to direct it in an orientation that's desirable, advantageous to the product. They try to direct it down so it absorbs into the clothes on your body rather than reflecting off into the environment.
Well, and usually that open area is such a small space that very little acoustic energy comes out anyway.
Usually, yes.
So it's not going anywhere.
Very little
know,
energy either
yeah.
way.
Well, where you really do run into finding out how good of a job something does, the how well other people can hear what you're listening to is the person next to you on a plane, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I could hear exactly, like if they're sitting right next to you,
Yeah,
you're
you
only
got
like
about
this
a
far
foot.
apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like
It's
I can hear
amazing when you
exactly
think about how close everybody is on a plane.
Sometimes you're like 3-6 inches away. You're like touching this person, right? So
Yeah.
you're going to hear it even if they have a closed back, unless
But
you're in a loud
some things
plane
are
and it's
better
not
than
that loud.
others. I've heard things like people behind me, I could hear what they're listening to. Well, now they could be listening really loud,
Right.
but they were closed backs, and it's like, wow,
Yeah.
that's almost not closed.
They're probably cranking them too.
Yeah, that
But
probably-
still.
yeah.
Yeah, occasionally you'll hear someone on a plane or whatever,
Yeah.
a library, where they have a closed back standard consumer headphone on, and you hear them even though they're far away. You could hear the clicks and stuff like that in their music.
Well, in a library, that helps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So there's different levels.
I think we've all tried our headphones on a plane just for shits and giggles, and it's like,
Yeah.
the one thing I mean, you can actually drown out the noise, but you got to play it at a pretty high level, which probably isn't good for your hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of brings up another topic, like the noise canceling headphones. Aren't they playing at a pretty high level to cancel out the external noise?
Well, they're increasing the absolute pressure level.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
We talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Because you got to make an 180 degree out of noise, right? Well, first of all,
this
they're
is a long one.
yeah, you're right. They're paying more attention to everything. They're trying to make a real close back.
Right.
The ear pads have to make a pretty
You need
good
an ultra
seal,
good seal if you want to have it work
yeah,
well.
they're trying to really drop the dB level from the externals
they're-
before they
Without it,
actively.
yeah, they're pretty good usually.
Yeah.
You put them on, it's like this is pretty good already.
right. Yeah. Which makes sense because you would be blowing your eardrum out if you didn't do that because you'd have to create so much
Yeah.
anti-pressure.
Right. That's more an efficiency thing, though.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't have a lot of mechanical attenuation, you got to have such a crazy level that it costs more. It's bigger. It's heavier. You need a bigger battery, and it's harder to get good runtime in a consumer-friendly
Yeah,
product.
right. It's blowing a lot of energy just playing anti-noise. What about in a car environment? They're doing that now in the stereos. and
Yeah, a lot of cars
Yeah.
are doing that now.
They're getting rid of the outside noise,
Yeah.
which is kind of crazy because cars are pretty quiet to begin with. I mean, for the most part.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the next level because
Yeah.
it's really, really hard to mechanically get rid of all noise.
Well, yeah, you don't need to add more weight. In
no,
Right.
that's true.
It's a system you already have.
Right.
The power
dead
consumption
in
is
the
not a big
interior
deal.
of the doors, and
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper to
Yeah.
do it electrically through active sound
But
canceling.
again, it's
rather
creating a
than
lot of
passive.
noise to do that. If it's doing it in a space that size, it's
Yeah,
gotta be using
a good amount of
it's gotta
energy.
Be creating some acoustic energy there to do that.
Yeah, mm,
I've never been in a car that has that. Like I don't
Yeah.
know what happens. Like if you get off axis, like if you
I don't know.
you tip over in between another seat, if does it go screwy, then you start hearing more noise.
no, my TL had it.
Yeah. Did
And
it?
when you rolled down the window, it shut off,
Yeah.
which was weird because you kind of noticed the
'cause
pressure
it couldn't.
change.
It really. Yeah.
It just disabled the system when you rolled down the window. Obviously,
Yeah.
you didn't have the energy to do the noise
So it
cancel
says
with the
I give
window
up.
open.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you didn't really notice it. Then you roll down the window and there's like a fade out,
Yeah.
and you notice the pressure change. It's very, very minor, but it was noticeable. It was almost like having noise canceling earphones hovering over your ears and then taking them off, like a very minor change.
Yeah.
Open has it's a pretty loose way to define things. It's not always as open as you think, and closed oftentimes is not actually closed. But they're not going to put like kind of closed on the box. So they got these binary definitions, yes or no, right?
We need
Either it's
levels of
closed or
open and
open.
close. This
Well,
is closed
they
level
got
6.
semi-open then.
But then it gets complicated for the
again,
consumer, and it's kind of messy. So they say this one's closed. Buy it if you need a closed headphone. But they don't really tell you how closed it is. Just like there's different grades and qualities of noise canceling headphones, it's the same thing.
You got to do like these DEF CON levels, like
Oh,
DEF CON
you got
level
a whole
3.
1 through 5 system.
Yeah, we're at DEF CON 5 closed.
Yeah, but then you would pretty much need an independent organization
Right.
verifying these things. Otherwise, people would kind of nudge it up a level all the
Yeah,
time.
right. Yeah,
Like you
right.
see that in every industry ever.
Yeah.
They always try to, well, maybe you could call it 4G.
Yeah. Which brings us back to, like we said before, it's kind of like you're going to have to try. You're really going to have to try it in your environment.
Unfortunately,
to
sort of,
really
yeah.
know what you're dealing with. Yeah. There's no good way.
Yeah.
What else is new? It's the same with everything.
Yep.
Same with everything. Yeah.
Well,
What a conclusion.
Yeah.
I mean, noise canceling's like that. I mean, some people say, "Oh, this is the best noise canceling." Other people are like, "Oh, I don't really think it's the best."
Yeah.
You just got to try in your application, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So on
see
that
if it-
bombshell.
as usual, and see if it works for you. Well, there you go. Hopefully, less confused the confusing thing of open versus closed.
I don't know if it did that.
I don't think it would. I don't think we did a real good job of it. But then again, I don't think there's a real good job to be done of it either. It's called a mess. Yes, this is a mess.
It's a little gray.
Yeah, sweep it under the carpet and
Yeah, I hope it goes away.
Yeah, exactly. On that note, everybody, take care of yourselves. Thank you. Don't forget, all these videos are in podcast form on all your favorite formats of podcasts. So if you went and said, "Hey Siri, Abyss Top of the Line podcast," I'm pretty sure she'll find it for you. And but we're in all the major podcasts. So if you're driving along and you're bored, maybe you catch one of the ones you never heard from us before. I think a lot of them start from the earliest one and then start playing backwards. So anyway, thank you, everyone. Peace.